Bonjour. Kind of like the excitement we felt when we started the Clean Kilo seafood market. We're like, you know, we could like reduce like all this packaging and talk to all these local people and create something really unique. And I guess that's what Kilo Zero was, because we wanted to again do what we did, but in the hospitality industry. So.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Breaking Bread. This is the food podcast presented by food obsessed mates Liam and Carl. I'm Liam.
I'm Carl Watcher.
Watcher.
Not Carl Watcher, that's not my name.
That's not his surname, no. Carl
I
McCaffrey.
should have left a bit of a gap.
We never say our surnames. I'm conscious of that. You know, when I listen to podcasts, they always say the second name.
People just think it's an Irish podcast.
This is the Birmingham Irish podcast.
Yeah. Hello.
And I could hear, like, after I say my surname, like, everyone going, what?
Yeah, what was that noise?
I normally just spell it. When they say, oh, what's your surname? I just say H-A-U. I don't even say it. I just spell it. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, wicked.
Podcasting season. We're doing well.
We're flying now.
They're coming in thick and fast.
We are. Been eating? Obviously, you had to eat.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day I've been eating, yeah.
Have you been eating out?
I have. We've been eating out.
Yeah.
I went to our favourite the other day, Bonehead.
Oh, mate.
That place I say it all the time, it still only gets better and better and better.
That was like a dream kind of evening. That was like, you know, we recorded a podcast first at the top of a rally in the private dining room.
Yeah. That was a great
overlooking
podcast.
Birmingham. Yeah, that was wicked. You'll hear that in a few weeks. And then racing out there then to get down to Bonehead.
Yeah, in time before it closed. Got there just in time. Oh, man. If you haven't been, then I genuinely can't help you.
No.
It's, for my money, the best restaurant in Bonehead. I say this all the time. I can't mention Bonehead without saying it's the best restaurant.
I'd be surprised if there's anyone listening to this who doesn't know what Bonehead is. Like,
Yeah.
Surely everyone's been to Bonehead now.
But if you've been putting it off thinking, it can't be that good, I'll just go. It's only chicken. No, it's not. Just go. And they've got a special thing today. If this comes out Monday,
Yeah, today, yeah.
they've
Good
got
thinking.
a Thai fried chicken special on that
I
they're
don't-
doing with lap.
Was it bookings? I can't remember. It was bookings. I don't know if it's sold out, but
No, I don't think it was. I think you just turn up.
I think you just turn up. So if you can, get up there tonight because that is good. Lap's food, it's unbelievable anyway. Thai fried chicken, what's not to love?
I know, man. Sounds amazing. You know it's going to be a good day.
I'll tell you what it was called, the UCB evening.
Yeah, I was really chuffed to get an invite to that.
What was it called? The Food Revolution or something? They're just
Yeah,
creative
it's
stories.
a series of events, and each one's got a theme, and this was sustainability. And they invite, and it's all cooked by all the students at UCB, and it's all put on by them. And there's interesting speakers, and there's loads of people. Great chance for networking. It was a great event, wasn't it?
I thought it was fantastic. I just thought it was good that they filled the room with different people as well. It wasn't just intellectuals. It wasn't just like university students. It wasn't just counsellors. It was people there was just normal people like me and you, a couple of food bloggers and stuff that were there. And then it just kind of broadened the conversation because, you know, a lot of time it's an echo chamber and everyone's sitting there all in agreement. But if you can spread the conversation further by getting a different array of people in, it's just brilliant. Like, mate, how good was Professor George Yao?
Oh, from Cambridge. You see this person, you can see why people flock to Cambridge and Oxford University, because we had this professor from Cambridge and he was the most engaging person I've ever seen talk.
I think he's obviously done a lot of like public speaking because he was fantastic in it. The whole room was in silence, just completely engaged. He was up and around, didn't stay in one place. Every word he said was fantastic.
I'm not being funny. If I had teachers like that at school, I'd still be at school now. Yeah. Incredible person.
Yeah, so just if you get an invite off Bradley, wasn't it, that invited us? He's leading all of that. If you can get down there and have a go at that, have a listen. Just it's important. It's very important. Ours on King's Heath Market as well. We were down there.
Yeah,
massive shout out
brilliant.
to Pips, our friend Pip's Hot Sauce fame, organising that wicked market down King's Heath. They had their first one. Me and you bumped into each other, completely unplanned, which was funny.
Yeah, it's just stars aligned. We're just meant to keep bumping into each other over and over again, I think.
It was mega busy and there was some awesome stores and most of the food ones are sold out real fast.
Yeah, I want to get some cake from Lil's Parlour, man.
Yeah,
or some cookies or
same.
something. I'd only got there like an hour after it opened. She'd sold out.
Yeah,
That's how
same.
popular that is. That's how good her stuff is.
I was gutted. I was like, oh, man. The next one is next Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Easter Sunday. Yeah.
The second Sunday of every month, I think.
Yeah, second Sunday of every month. So make sure you get down to there.
It was great. I picked up a Mother's Day gift, picked up, Pumpkin Chances were there. So that's always good.
Neve
Sports
loved
Zoe,
it as well.
great
Neve
stuff.
got some little crafty bits as well. It was nice. And then I went to Pause, but you were already at Pause.
I know, yeah, I went to go to somewhere and it was too full. I won't say where. And then we went to Pause just to grab a coffee on the way back to the car. And then you came walking in again.
You got the last slice of coffee cake, mate. I was
Oh,
devastated.
mate, that coffee cake at Pause is unbelievable.
I went a few weeks ago and got a nice little latte and a coffee. Slice of that cake, mate. It's the best cake I've ever had. I mean, I'm not massive on cake, but that was phenomenal.
Oh, mate, it was incredible. Bar is an
Absolutely.
absolute genius with baking.
It's just not too sweet. There was like a real savouriness to it.
Yeah, that's what I like
and
about
loved
coffee
it.
cake. It's not,
Yeah.
is it? Like, that's why I like carrot cake as well. I like further cakes that aren't too sweet.
But yeah, best cake I've ever had. So that was awesome. So if you get a chance, get down to that. Get on today's episode because it's not long. It's heavy there. There's a lot into it. It's important stuff, man.
Yeah, it's a good one, man.
We're talking to Tom and Jeanette from the Clean Kilo.
Yeah, we talk about their shop, their cocktail bar,
The bar's called Kilo Zero.
and it's really we recorded in there. It was really nice inside.
It's lovely now, yeah. I can't believe we haven't been, in fairness.
And the cocktails are all like sustainable and made
Oh,
with like other products. Like it sounds
Broccoli.
amazing. Yeah.
That doesn't sound amazing.
Yeah, no, that doesn't sound amazing. but
People
I
liked
figured
it. She said it was popular. So just
But
really two interesting people just really smashing it. Like, I mean, you don't need us to tell you about how important it is to use less plastic and sustainability and how important that is. Like,
Yeah, of course.
and these two are they were the first to do it in Birmingham. I think there was other places around. I don't even know if the UK. They might have been the first in the UK. I'm not sure, but I think they said in the podcast. But you'll hear that.
Yeah, we don't want to ruin it. You'll hear all this.
No,
It
you'll
was a
hear.
good podcast, man. It really interesting. It's talking about we do delve into a bit the troubles Digbuff is having at the moment with the roadworks that don't seem to ever end,
No.
or don't seem to ever have anyone working on it either.
No.
To be honest, because every time we go past, there's lots of barriers and no people.
I think that's the story of the Clean Kilo so far. They've had just a lot of barriers, and despite all of that, they've come through it. Obviously, since we recorded, sadly, Moseley's closed down, which is a bit of gutting for them, for us, for everyone, really.
Yeah,
But Bourneville's still going,
and the bar's still going.
and the bar's still going.
It's a no. Seriously, hit the bar if you're in Digbuff. Like,
Yeah.
I think that they get overlooked quite a lot when people go out in Digbuff, and they really shouldn't because everything there's fantastic.
We even talk about get some tips for other hospitality businesses, how they can become a bit more sustainable.
Yeah, and if you're looking at setting up a business, like they
Yeah.
go into detail about how you go about doing it. Like, if you're setting up a business, this podcast is perfect.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Tom and Jeanette. Yeah, welcome to Breaking Bread. Thanks very much for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
How you doing?
Yeah,
Good.
it's good.
Very good. Tired as always.
Tired as always.
Yeah.
I always come because we always do this on a Monday, and I always say, "Nice day off," and I'm like, and then I think that they don't have days off.
No.
They're not like us where we have nice weekends off. Like,
That would be
Yeah, I
that'd
don't
be
remember
great.
last time we had a full weekend.
it's overrated if that makes you feel better.
Oh,
Well, that's the
really?
thing, right? You've always got that Sunday blues if you have a weekend, whereas if you work every day, that's one positive. You don't have the Sunday blues. You just have it every day.
I don't think that's a good thing, though, mate.
Just when I was on the railway, there were people there. They wouldn't go on holiday, and you'd be like, "Why didn't you go on holiday?" You're like, "Cause I've just got to come back to work."
Yeah.
So like, they didn't even take annual leave or anything. They never went anywhere because they said they didn't like the feeling of having to go back to work.
So, how's your January been?
January's been okay, actually. Obviously, it's our first January as Kilo Zero in hospitality, so we was kind of didn't know what to expect because it's obviously naturally supposed to be the quietest month. But I guess because we've changed our business model quite a bit through adapting through what's happening, we do a lot of private events at the moment and corporates and stuff. So it was actually an okay January.
Not too bad.
I think also because we're still building up our baseline, like it's still on the up, whereas everyone else will have a generally a baseline that they know about, and then it'll drop off in January. For us, we're still building up. So I think for that reason, even when we didn't have events, there was still good footfall.
Yeah, because it's a nice spot, and you've done a great job in the bar. It looks fantastic.
Thank you. I designed the bar, I must say.
You did it yourself?
Yeah, so I ended up designing, and Tom did a lot of the carpentry, so it's very much like in here for like, was it 2.5 months straight?
Yeah.
Wow.
Whilst opening up Moseley. Yeah, it's a bit of a long story, isn't it? So we should probably start at the start.
Start at the start. Yeah.
Yeah, by all means.
Start at the start,
Start where you start. That's the main. Might as well go from there, because you were a shop originally.
Yeah, so the Clean Kilo, that's where it all began. 2017. This was like a time before like plastic pollution was really like in the mainstream media. I remember when like we watched a documentary called Plastic Ocean on Netflix. It was seeing that documentary made us realise that this is a massive issue, but it was just really strange at the time that it wasn't talked about. I remember like a few months later, we saw it on like the 10 o'clock news. Oh, they're talking about the plastic pollution. And it was like the first time. But yeah, that's where the Clean Kilo concept came from. You come back from Australia.
Yeah, in Australia, I was there for 4 years. Did my PhD there.
You're originally from Birmingham, or?
Yeah, from Lichfield.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, yeah.
Great. I call everything Greater Birmingham.
Absolutely.
Just annoy everyone and call Solihull, Lichfield, Warsaw. It's all Greater Birmingham.
Greater Birmingham.
West Brom, don't care. It's Greater Birmingham.
Yeah, so came back from Australia. I'd seen this concept there in a sort of slightly different form. It was like a scoop type place. But things have moved on since then quite a bit. The technology had got slightly improved. And Jeanette, we discussed it, and Jeanette had seen this idea in her mind of at a hotel, when you get the cereal dispensers at hotels. Something like that, but with lots of them for everything.
So, when you say scoop, I think of do you remember the old scooper shops?
Exactly, yeah. A lot of people talk to us about those. And
They kind of got like negative like connotations.
Because every grubby little kid used to have the mitts in the sweet ones. Like, you know.
Yeah. So luckily the design has definitely moved on since then. And I think also this cereal dispenser that I imagined in like hotels, turns out there was something designed like that for selling bulk basically. So the Clean Kilo started with a lot of research and just some crazy idea to provide a shop in Birmingham where you could have lots of product under one roof, because we found ourselves going to multiple places all the time to try and find things loose or buy things in bulk, which obviously when you're busy it's not like time efficient. So I think people this day and age want things under one roof, which is why a supermarket is obviously successful. So we tried to build a zero waste supermarket by sourcing all the elements of like what you need day to day to put into the Clean Kilo. Looking back now, it does seem like it was a crazy idea even back then, and people thought we were a little bit strange.
Did you approach anyone for funding or anything, or how did you start it?
Yeah, so it was the actual. So we're in the bar now. We're sat in the Clean Kilo dig booth, and this is where we opened in 2018. But as you can see behind us, the mural up there actually is our crowdfunding mural.
Okay.
Yeah. So we didn't have enough money to start this ourselves, so we went for crowdfunding.
Had you already approached people and they'd laughed you out of it? Or?
No, to be fair, like we didn't even think to approach anyone. We didn't think we knew anyone that would find us like normal enough to be like, because at the time zero waste shops like wasn't prominent in the UK, and we're like, oh yeah, we want to open up a shop where customers have to bring their own containers, and even some of our friends and family were like, don't know if this is going to work, that's a big ask.
We did go on I don't know if you heard of the Be Seen program, which is like it's run by like 3 Birmingham universities. I think it's BCU, Aston and one other, and they run like a course on how to start up a business, and they give you a small amount of funding. I think it was £1,000, something like that, to help you, and also like teach you about marketing, sales, that kind of stuff. So there was that, and there was also another organisation called Unlimited, that we applied for a small amount of.
Yeah,
of
so
money
these
from as
weren't
well.
like investors as such. There were people that like are interested in maybe social enterprises and things like that. And yeah, we just started like telling people what the idea was, obviously, to create this space as a zero waste supermarket. And that term zero waste shop already existed across like the world, like in the mainly America, Australia, Europe. The term zero waste shops were being used. So they did have like gravity dispensers in and a scale system where a customer would bring their own container. They would weigh the container that they bought from home, and that would then tear the weight off, so they don't get charged for obviously bringing the container. Then they would fill it with the product, and it would just work out what the content is. So, and we were quite surprised that there wasn't anything at the time in the UK. And then I think, like, as we were crowdfunding, the first one did open in Totnes in Devon. So it was good timing to go down and check it out as well. So, yeah, I feel like we were just at that cusp where, like, things were changing and people were starting to find out. The crowdfunding was a success. So I think the actual figure we were aiming for was like 15,000, but we managed to raise over 20,000. And so it kind of all snowballed because obviously we're just these like two people that had a concept, and like even now when I think back on it, it seems weird to have the energy to do all that crowdfunding because it was a big job. It was like a full-time job. But saying that, I actually did have a full-time job. So I was doing it in the evening. So Tom was doing it full-time. But I used to be a menswear designer, which is obviously completely different.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was doing something completely different in the daytime and then obviously trying to do the clean kilo at night. So yeah, it was like, I think we did the research the research and the crowdfunding took about a year. And by the time we kind of like, a lot of people knew what was happening, we had a lot of support in Birmingham for the zero waste shop. A lot of people wanted it, as you know, like 500 people donated. So that just shows in itself that it was a popular concept. We did things like market research, even on like the streets. I think King's was one of the streets we were looking at first before we came to Digbeth to ask people what they thought of the concept. And most people were quite open to bringing their own containers. So yeah, it was at a kind of a time of like change where people started to have awareness. I think Blue Planet was like the big thing, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it was about halfway through, or was it just the beginning? Just the beginning of when we released the crowdfunding campaign.
Yeah.
That Sunday, the David Attenborough Blue Planet 2 was aired on the TV. So that meant that plastic pollution in the ocean was becoming like really well known, and I think
It was
that
shocking though, wasn't it? I remember watching it thinking, holy shit.
Yeah, and it's so weird to think that was the first time most people found out
It wasn't
about
even that
it.
long ago, and it's clearly been going on for a very long time.
yeah, as long as plastics existed, like 1930s or before.
So that really boosted our campaign quite significantly.
Yeah, and that was a pure luck. You know, we had no idea that the show was going to be aired. So yeah, like we managed to find obviously this spot. We considered other like suburbs, but Digbeth seemed like a good place to start because the concept obviously was a bit unknown to a lot of people. A suburb to start with might not have been a good idea because people wouldn't really understand it. Whereas when you're kind of city centre based, at least people could travel in by public transport from all areas of Birmingham. And we did find that when we first opened, like people from like Derby and kind of like Nottingham would be coming here to do like some bulk shopping.
They'd come like, once a month and spend a lot and then go back. So it wasn't like frequent trips, if you know what I mean. But it was a big amount of our footfall was from that kind of stuff.
Digbeth kind of feels like a suburb, but like not far from the city centre in itself, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
It definitely feels like its own place, doesn't it?
Yeah, and there's so many like creative businesses and it's like small businesses. It felt like a really good place, and it has been. It has been really supportive, I'd say, like in terms of like like the management for our building and stuff. They've been really good, and they like picking small businesses as well. Obviously, Digbeth has his own issues, so we'll get to it. But yeah, no, it was definitely a great place to start, and like it's a lovely building as well.
What state was the building in? Because it's building you drive past all the time and don't take much notice of, and then you stop and look at it one day and go, "Wow, what a building!" Like it's stunning.
Yeah,
I think the inside is pretty good. I think the outside could do with.
What was it
little bit
before
of renovation.
you guys had it I know. What was it originally?
Very originally, it was bank.
Bank.
So it was
I
Lloyd's.
feel like everything was a bank at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's cool actually. It's got an original bank vault in there, and
Yeah.
The thick walls, like.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
it's like
the-
50 centimetres.
yeah, the walls are
That's
about
where the
half a
wine
metre
is.
thick. Keep it secure. And there's some of the windows say like bank. It's all etched into the windows. So the original windows.
Even all
and
these
stuff.
bars are because of the bank.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense. But what was it then before yous came?
It was a salon.
So, really random.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I think
Bank, salon,
I
shop.
think before
bar.
that it was a violin shop, and like
That's quite a popular one, wasn't it?
yeah, like occasionally we still get people coming in saying, "Oh,
Like,
thought
really
you were
old people that haven't followed social media.
looking
number
for
of
a
years.
violin." It's been like 5 things since that, mate.
Yeah.
So did you have to do much work to the place, or?
It was a white shell, like
Yeah.
ready to go for the shop.
Oh, that's how
That
So it
was
was like, yeah, it was in a good state and
Yeah.
didn't have to do a lot really. It was
No.
good.
It was just kind of figuring out, like, I think it was the sourcing of equipment to make it into a zero waste shop that at the time was difficult. Like these days, it wouldn't be because there are so many zero waste shops. There's people that sell these scales and dispensers and lots of suppliers that do bulk and lots of suppliers that do circular. So that's when you give that the container and they refill it. But yeah, when we first started sourcing, it was a complete minefield. Like there wasn't like anything. We really had to. Well, we were looking at like some German company for the dispensers because there wasn't anything in the UK at one point. And yeah, it was really just at the start of things. But yeah, like we somehow managed to get everything we wanted. So basically, in terms of food, there was like loose goods like cereals, nuts, chocolate, snacks, legumes, beans, pasta, rice, and then there's all like the baking goods like flours, and then we
Dried
wanted
fruit and
dried fruit. We wanted to have loose fruit and veg, an element of like interactiveness as well, because I think like so many people going online these days, you want to bring people to the premises to be able to experience shopping, and obviously shopping independent is one thing, but we wanted to have some like machines in there. So we had some like orange juicer machine, a coffee grinder, now we've got an oat milk machine as well, just to make it more fun. And even the process of weighing your containers and stuff, we find that a lot of families come in and like the kids like really enjoy doing it. And what else do we have? We've got liquid items
Cleaning
as well.
products. We've got so yeah, there's one particular couple of companies that do cleaning products, and they do them in 20-litre containers that we send back, and they're set up for that. They have like that circular system that they've pretty much created in the period of time since we've been open. Some of those, so that shows that it's like a growing.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, the stuff you get, does that come in plastic?
It depends. There are some things. So, like with the bulk, they're about, I would say, percentage-wise, 70% will be coming in paper, like a bulk sack of paper,
Yeah.
25 kilos. But there will be maybe 20% that will come in a plastic liner. And obviously, people might think, oh, you've got plastic. Well,
But you're stocking loads more
naturally, there's
plastic
going
after
to
that.
be some things require plastic, like dried
Yeah.
fruit and stuff, because they store it for X amount of days and whatnot. But the idea is that when you have lots of little packets going into lots of different households, you have absolutely no control of how those packets are getting disposed of. They could be going into a landfill bin. Bins overflow, that's when they escape, obviously, into canals and oceans. Whereas, obviously, our liner, we have First Mile, which is a company that take flexible plastics and then it gets downcycled into bin liners and things like that. So then we have control over it.
Yeah.
And obviously, it reduces proportionally the weight of lots of little packets just having a singular liner. And then I say the other kind of 15-20% is circular. So circular is that we would have a container. So for instance, our crisps, they come in a 1.5 litre bucket, and the oil from the same people come in a 20 litre drum. That's all locally sourced from Staffordshire. So we even know like the farmer by name and stuff. And it was the first time they had ever been asked when we first opened, like, can you provide these crisps for us like loose? And they're like, ooh.
Not really.
Like, no, they go into packets. Like a whole system is set up for them to go into packets. But obviously, crisp packets, mixed material, like I would say hard to recycle, if recyclable at all, in most councils. And because they're a small company, they were like, this is interesting. Okay, well maybe we can change the way we do things.
With them as well, like the farmer like said, right, I'll buy a 10-litre bucket. I'll put these crisps in, and I'll keep eating them over the course of a period of months, and see if they become less fresh.
Yeah.
And just always put the lid back on, taste them every day. And he was like, well, 6 months later they're still fine, so yeah, we'll sell them to you, kind of thing.
He cooked them a little bit thicker as well.
Yeah.
It was a good test.
It was a good
Do you want
job.
any help with the future?
Yeah.
Barrel of crisps.
Yeah, so he cut them a little bit thicker as well for us. So it's really great, obviously, being able to work with small independents to make these changes happen. And that was just kind of like one story, but it became our best story because from having that conversation back in 2018, this like crazy conversation about not having crisps in packets, he's now selling to about 500 zero waste shops in the country. Wow. And teamed up with the person we mentioned earlier with the cleaning products that has a circular system. So they go around the country anyway, taking up the drums for the cleaning products, and then now they've obviously taken on the food side of things, so they're doing the crisps and the oils as well. So imagine how many 25-gram bags are in a 1.5 kg bucket, and then that's one shop, that's one bucket, but now that is multiplied into 500 zero waste shops. So obviously people sometimes think, you're not making a difference because you're just one person or whatnot, but actually from that conversation that made a huge difference. And yeah, we'd like to think that would be like millions of crisp packets saved. So yeah, and that kind of thing, like when we're doing the sourcing, we started talking to a lot of different people, like even like Quarter Horse was, I'm sure you may have met him or interviewed him before, about returnable buckets for the beans. And so we do that with Quarter Horse now, but we do that with 100 House as well. I don't know if you met those guys.
Not met them, but had their coffee.
Yeah, amazing coffee, both of them. They both come in returnable buckets, and it was a system that wasn't available before, but now they've set it up, and we were obviously one of the first customers. Which other ones? There was obviously Morley Milk, so there was milk buckets in returnable containers from a small dairy farm. Even all the bakery items now, even when we have new bakery, from the ground bakery, we've just started in Digbeth now, and we just asked can they come in a container instead of lots of separate packets, and that's fine. Obviously, the tricky thing is we've got all these containers assigned to these local people, and it's keeping a track of it and giving it back and letting the team know, this one's this person, this one's this person, this one's this person, because then suddenly if you don't train properly, you're going to have this build-up of containers.
And they all seem to use the same container as well. It's please you get green buckets and you have white buckets. That'd be great.
Yeah.
There's a lot of post-it notes.
Yeah, so that is a difficulty, and I don't know if it's the concept the concept now, but a lot of people back in the day was if it's a zero waste shop, it must mean that it's cheaper because they're not buying in packaging. But there's a yes and no to that, because some things buying in bulk works out cheaper, so we sell it cheaper, so that means we're cheaper than the supermarket. And I always use the example of herbs and spices. I did a post literally yesterday, and it was significantly cheaper to come to us. Did you see it? Yeah, and it was. I was kind of shocked by it as well, because every so often we just rework it out again. We're oh gosh, wow. But then there are some things that are going to be more expensive. So if we're getting, I don't know, some kind of organic product that's less frequent in the supermarket, and it's the extra labor as well, because when you're buying in bulk or circular, you're committing then to obviously filling that dispenser, labeling that dispenser, doing all the kind of admin to make sure the traceability is okay for that product. And then a customer's coming in and you've got a member of staff who's then letting a customer know about how to use the dispenser and the scales, and then obviously assisting with that. And then obviously the dispenser then needs filling up. So then you're scooping into the dispenser, and then eventually when that's gone, you're then washing the dispenser. So it's so much more logistics than a supermarket where you've I don't know, I can imagine you open up a box, packets go out, shelf, it's already got the label on, it's got everything on. You're forcing the customer to buy a certain amount as well. So like there's more profitability in that because it's more profitable because instead of selling like, I don't know, one loose apple, you're selling a bag of 8 apples, but the customer obviously has to buy 8 apples even if they don't need 8 apples. And then the person behind the till gets to make a margin on selling 8 apples rather than selling someone 1 apple. So obviously...
We all know, weighing, like, if you need 1 red pepper...
It's always more expensive.
Yeah, you're going to buy the pack of 3, aren't you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah, just buy the
Like,
pack
hang on,
of
20p more and I get 2 more peppers.
Yeah,
What's going on?
I'll just do that.
Yeah, and that's the sad thing about it is the fact that some items will cost more because of logistics, but if you're like kind of savvy and doing things, you know, to save money, you look for the items obviously that aren't, and there are a lot of like kind of DIY items as well, like kind of like natural cleaning products like citric acid and things like that. That's loads cheaper than obviously buying cleaning products from a supermarket as well. So
that's interesting because that post caught my eye because I think and a lot of people will probably feel the same. They would assume everything's more expensive.
yeah,
I think because you feel like, oh, it's more premium. And sometimes when you do add labels like sustainable or environmental friendly, it's a premium
No,
price
it's like
tag
adding
that
organic
comes.
on the label.
Yeah,
like, it's
exactly.
double
Yeah,
cost
yeah.
of
But
the
that's
next
interesting to find out.
Yeah.
A lot of things don't cost more, and in
Yeah.
fact, a lot of things cost less.
We kind of say that from our kind of comparisons, we're cheaper than or similar to the brand price.
Yeah.
There's no way we're going to compete with like the value version at the supermarket, like 19p noodles or something like that.
No.
It's going to be a bit more expensive, but we're never more than a brand
Like
product.
high street brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep trying to tell people though, it's like used won't be too expensive. It's that the supermarkets are selling it too cheap.
Yeah, there's
We've
that.
all got
as well.
used to this. Really, like everything has to be cheap. It's a race to the bottom.
Definitely.
If something's too cheap, you should look at it and say, why is it so cheap? Like, why is that piece of beef so cheap? Like,
Yeah.
that's a cow that's probably cost hundreds of pounds to look after for a few years. Like,
Yeah.
it should never cost that little money. you
Yeah,
know?
definitely. I mean, when we buy bananas, they're like a fair trade banana that's Del Monte, and they're more expensive for us to buy than they are at the supermarket off the shelf.
God.
That kind of shows like where the price kind of balances, and it seems quite
Yeah,
wrong.
there's something strange about supermarket prices. Even your mum always says, like, it used to be cheaper for, it used to be more expensive for meat, like 10 years ago than it is now. So you're like,
Yeah,
that's
something's
What are
a,
they
wrong,
doing?
like,
Strange,
something's
isn't it?
wrong.
Yeah,
Very
it's
wrong.
Something dodgy in it.
Yeah.
Do you ever get criticism for like selling stuff like bananas? You know, like the air miles that come with it, and
Yeah, it's actually something that we've always considered. So we really limit the fruit and veg that have a lot of air miles. Kind of like our kind of one that we debate in always is kind of like bananas and avocados. Because I guess like for us, because we're so consciously aware of where seasonality of the food is coming from, we know that, gosh, obviously that banana's never going to be low carbon miles, and neither is that avocado. But then do we have a good alternative for it in the UK? No. So that's kind of our baseline. If we won't buy a New Zealand apple, in fact, probably a lot of people that go into supermarkets all year round don't even realise them apples are coming from New Zealand. It's just an apple. But obviously we have consciousness on that. So that's one of our like things, like, you know, if it can be grown in the UK, we don't buy it in.
When apples go out of season, you can only get them from France or Spain. That's when we will
Yeah.
stop for a little while.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
at
It's not a
first,
long
yeah,
period, really.
the furthest we'll go with like maybe European, but like in terms of like ridiculousness, like we just cut
Minus
off
2
on it.
from like Kenya
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
And I guess that's like something that we do that we don't really talk about a lot, but like we are obviously like are very aware. But then obviously not having some things in your range, having no lemons, barely not many oranges, having no
so
bananas.
commonplace in kitchens.
will put
Yeah.
people off coming to your shop altogether. And obviously the idea, obviously, that I spoke about at the start was trying to make loose
Accessible.
items more accessible and appealing as well. So if you then take away everything that like people might need on a day-to-day. Because let's face it, I don't think many households would cut out fruit and vegetables that are shipped from abroad in realisticness. So it's a balance. It's getting that balance of there is no perfection in zero waste. In fact, the term zero waste is actually quite misleading in the way that a lot of people will take it literally. But actually, the term is coined from a journey. That's what it means. A zero waste shop and being zero waste is actually like a goal, and it's like the whole like journey towards that. But I think because obviously a lot of people think of it literally, they think it means like no waste at all, which in this day and age, unless you grow everything and probably live in a forest that somehow isn't manned by any government or whatever, then you're probably going to be in some kind of society that has waste.
You just got to do what you can, really. Like, you know, if people come here and I needed the lemon for this recipe, so I got all my herbs and spices, but I didn't get that. I should have just went to Tesco's and got the lot. And then all of a sudden you're helping nothing, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas if you are, maybe you have to take the hit on the lemon, but at least you've contributed something, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
It's tough, isn't it? I sympathise like massively because trying to understand how consumer mindset works is just a minefield. Like watch all the TED Talks you want, it's still a nightmare. You obviously you've kind of not abandoned this place, but you moved to Moseley.
Yeah. So kind of just fast forward a little bit.
Sorry, was there a bit missing? You can carry on if there's.
Oh right.
Was there something in between?
Gosh, yeah. It was you.
We could be here till 7 in the morning.
I think
honestly.
I did actually spend 2 hours telling some of the story.
Yeah, and they were a customer, and they were like, right.
No, it wasn't a customer.
But like I'm fascinated. Like when I was just taking notes, I was like, this could be real long because I'm so interested in all of this. Like.
Okay, so when we opened, gosh, it was so busy that day. It was 16th of June, 2018.
Yep.
And we had the press here. I think the BBC were here in some capacity.
Yeah, we really pushed the social media.
Yeah,
and
the queues. There was like we had to like issue like the little tickets so people like would wait in the cafe opposite and come back because the queues were like round the corner. Like I don't honestly think that kind of level of trade post-pandemic has ever been possible. I don't know why, but I feel like the trade is definitely.
I think
Were you surprised? Was a little piece of you thought, no one's going to come?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, we had a feeling quite a few people would come, but not quite that level. I think part of the reason it was so busy is the crowdfunding. I think the number of those. I mean, there were 500 people that backed us. I wouldn't be surprised if the vast majority of those came. Just to sort of see what it was going to all be about and how we would have done it.
Yeah, because we were, one of the first 5 in the UK, so it was a really new concept.
I think people queued outside for like an hour and a half.
And I remember in here, it was like tight, and there was queues. Like this was the checkout here, and there was a queue all the way. Because I remember being at the back thinking, oh my God, these people are waiting for ages. And I don't think because obviously the team was new, so the scale thing was a bit slow for everyone to work out.
I don't think it even worked, did it? Wasn't there?
There was probably some
problem with the
technical
card
error.
machine, and like we had to like write down
problems.
all the things and like only take cash. It was a nightmare.
It was completely manic. But 2018 and 2019 was amazing here for the Clean Kilo. Had a lot of support, a lot of customers, and a lot of people visiting. Like even there was quite a few like more famous people as well.
A few TV
things.
We were on Eat Well for Less, was it?
Eat Well for Less, Sunday morning.
Yes, Sunday Morning Live or Saturday Morning Live, something like that.
Was one of the first
June
ones.
Sarpong came. That was quite exciting.
Yeah, it was just crazy. And then we entered this competition on it. It was like it was Small Business FedEx Grant or something like that.
Yeah.
We thought we'll give it a go because the prize was £20,000, and you basically had to write in like a big essay like what you would do with that money. Obviously, they were looking for projects that maybe had a social aspect of it or some kind of goodness. So we went for that, and there was apparently over 15,000 applications. And I just remember like on the day that it was going to be announced, like we woke up in the morning, it's like, all right, we're checking our phones now. Shall we see if we managed to win? Or and you know what? Seeing that screen, I still picture it now. We were like, Tom, like we've won. We've won £20,000
Yeah.
to open up the Bourneville store. And so that basically, you know, we put in our kind of essay, whatever it was, that we wanted to double the impact of what we've done, because obviously we've saved X amount of single-use plastics in this premises, and we feel like if we move to another, if we add to that and you know, have another premises, we'd then be able to double that. And how we can like push it further as well with the product range. And yes, that was a really like surreal moment, kind of like the crowdfunding, where there was this like, right, we're doing it, then we're opening Bourneville. And so that was we opened that in 8th of November 2019, was it?
Yeah.
And that was a huge success as well. Again, like Bourneville has this great community feel. Like we had volunteers come that, you know, were doing a little bit of painting and just wanted to get involved in what we were doing here because they believed in the project. So that was really great. And again, 2019 was a fantastic year for Bourneville.
Well, it was
you had them both going at the same time in
Yeah.
2019,
Yeah.
So it was November, December, January, February, and then March.
Yes, I'll say year. It was a few months of Bourneville. Well, no, actually, March was great for Bourneville because March was a lot of things. It was like a bit of a roller coaster. March 2020, I'm talking about. It was really weird. Obviously, we started seeing these things about COVID, and obviously, like, I don't think at the time, like, the supermarkets were like prohibiting number of customers or anything, but we were noticing our shops get really busy, probably because of obviously like the dry food aspect as well, and bulk shopping,
Pasta.
Pasta and flour and toilet roll.
I remember toilet roll. You couldn't get it, could you?
I think someone brought a pillowcase to fill with flour.
Yeah,
That's the quantity.
just like they needed a sack or something.
Yeah.
It was like gold dust, wasn't it? And we were getting a little bit like, this is great for business, but we're a little bit worried that like too many people are coming in at the same time, because obviously there's this whole virus going on that no one knows how to like stop at the minute. So we quite early on like had to make a lot of decisions, like, you know, restrict customer numbers and things like that before the supermarkets were doing it, in fact, and then restrict obviously number of items and everything, and put in your sanitizers and distancing and stuff. And it was a crazy month. But yeah, Bourneville was really busy. Digbeth was really busy up until the point probably when that first lockdown hit. And then that was it for Digbeth after that, very much. I think that was kind of the fall for Digbeth. Because that whole year, so bear in mind, we used to open 6 long days a week in Digbeth. And then we just didn't open at all for 2 months in Digbeth. Is it 2 months completely? Which was a big decision for us, because like we never really like close. So this was like, gosh, we're gonna close. Like, what we're gonna do? Is it the right thing? Like, because when you close, ultimately people get out of habit of things, and it's like it's that massive danger of people not coming into habit. And obviously, our whole shop is about changing that behavioural habit, and then we're suddenly getting people out of the habit that they've just changed to. We thought it was a bit risky.
And there was also the stay home and stay local. So if you were going shopping, you were supposed to only go to your local shop. Yeah. And Digbeth, the reason we picked this spot, as Jeanette said earlier, was because it could attract people from longer distance. So that always that shut that revenue stream off. And there was also the offices. People were working from home. And we served the offices a lot. People would come after work and all that kind of thing. So all of that just stopped very suddenly.
The whole area of Digbeth was just
desolate,
empty. And the annoying thing was, because we wasn't in hospitality during the lockdown period, I don't know what the grant amounts was or anything in terms of like when you were forced to close, what you get, but we're an essential shop, so we're actually forced to open. So we ended up opening 3 days a week because we couldn't just close. There's nothing for us. We just paid, even though we had reduced rent and stuff, there were still obviously bills that you can't avoid. So we opened 3 days a week for probably a whole year. So that was tough. Kind of doing that, and obviously like it just didn't add up, the maths basically in the end. Very soon after all the COVID malarkey, the roadwork started.
Oh, God.
And we
It's
were
like nail in the coffin.
Oh,
for
we
us.
were just
Oh, if
like,
you were asking people to drive here to come and do stuff,
yeah, like
Yeah.
even everything,
Even walking from anywhere.
walking was an issue.
you can't even
Public
cross
transport,
especially when they first did it. You had to go all the way down the road just to cross the road.
Yeah.
yeah,
I remember
and
somebody told me, "Can you pick me up from outside the Kerryman?" And I got as close as I could by car, and then I was like walking to meet him, and I was like, I can't walk there.
Yeah.
I had to go back to come back, and it was like,
yeah.
what hope has anyone got by now? You're giving up if you want to
Yeah,
go to a
absolutely.
bar. or
It was really, really manic, and I think we were really annoyed by it because, like, we're totally pro, obviously, public transport and everything like that, clean air zone, but it's a timing issue. I know, obviously, these things were planned like in advance, but no one planned, obviously, the pandemic in between. So I feel like there should have been some adjustments to the
Yeah.
planning, considering this had just happened, and particularly like Digbeth, the area, like there's not many residential, so it really survives off footfall visitors and people being able to get into the area, so you make it as attractive as possible. But obviously the roadworks then was like another nail in the coffin. So I think that's when we announced in August 2021 that we were really struggling. We announced that on our social media posts, and yeah, like that kind of boosted sales for a little while, but obviously you can't like force people to come to Digbeth at a time where it's not suitable for them to do that. And a lot of people were still obviously worried about COVID even during that time. People just wasn't going out the way they used to. And I think behavioural habits changed a lot, which was a real shame because obviously a lot of people did go online, and something we were really proud of in Bourneville was being a local store to people that wasn't necessarily interested in zero waste, but saw us as a grocery store. So they might have just walked in, seeing this fruit and veg, and then walked in and realised, oh, they don't have like any packaging here. I'm supposed to bring my own containers. And then they started then, bringing their own containers and getting into habit. So, because Digbeth really like was, I would say, most interesting for people that already knew about zero waste and was already on that path. But Bourneville wasn't. Bourneville changed habits a lot, and it was really impactful. But yeah, so it was a real shame that obviously the pandemic dampened a lot of that. In fact, there was increased usage of plastic during the pandemic and things like that. And obviously a lot of people went online, so we found it tough. And even obviously Bourneville declined a bit as well through the pandemic.
The permits. When did the permit parking come in?
Gosh,
Around?
It was just a random addition at one point. It just seemed to change.
I feel like that bit was
ridiculous.
a bit just
That's
like,
just a kick in the.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, you obviously had the big roadworks plans, and you had obviously had the government pushing the clean air zone. But why the parking permits? Like they,
I feel like any other place would be like, right, once the tram line's open, then we'll put the permits in because it makes sense. But
Yeah.
not Birmingham. We were like, yeah, let's whack them in
Let's
now.
put everything
Because
together.
I remember driving in because it's still permit on a Saturday, isn't it? So I came in
Till
one
6.
Saturday and I went to park and I was like, I can't park in it. I was going to go to Red Brick Market and I was like, I can't park. Where am I going to park? I have to
Yeah,
go
I
and
used to
pay
pick
the
up a lot of
park.
wine from Wine Freedom.
Yeah.
So I used to go there a lot for buying wine, and it's just like, how am I supposed
I
to do
think
that
their
now?
like argument was that because they're encouraging like less car usage, but this thing is like it doesn't all work at the same time if you don't have the public transport there ready. So,
Yeah, it's
so
great
they-
having the cars if you've got the tram.
Yeah.
People on
either.
board. You need people to buy into it and come with you.
Yeah,
and they're just not
exactly.
going. They're just going to get angry and be like,
yeah, and those are the 3 points we wrote on that post.
I
And,
would love to not have a car. I would love to have a really inexpensive public transport system that
Yeah.
gets us wherever I want to go in Birmingham, but we
Yeah.
just don't have it. And
No.
it's a shame.
And going back to that point about planning as well, it was planned in advance, like Jeanette said, but I don't think it was thought through that well. Because they're now saying that they'll finish the tram works in probably 2 years' time, but which is
That was already
which is
supposed
an
to be done
insult
by
in
July.
itself. But then they're actually saying that the tram won't be on the tracks for another 2 years after that.
I hadn't heard
And
that.
the reason for that is because there is some interaction with HS2 that it has to go underneath something that has to be built with HS2 initially. But surely they could have had a conversation about that beforehand and wait 2 years
Yeah.
to start doing the digging up of the road
Give some
so that it was
space,
finished
yeah.
when it's ready to have a tram on it. Because all of these businesses around Digbeth, 5 or 6 of which we know have closed. We knew them personally. And you mentioned one of them, Wine Freedom, Stag, Barbers, Roberto's. So many great places. Dig Brew. Like all of those businesses would have survived almost certainly if they'd left it a year or so after the pandemic to then start doing the roadworks. But it was just like, no, we've got to go ahead with it. This was in the plan, so we've got to do it. But they didn't think about that process.
Small businesses, like, you know, they talk about how it's going to enrich the area in the future, which I agree it will, but it's like, that might be another set of people, so it wasn't very great
Big
for the
Buffett just won not one, but it was in one of the papers as like one of the
Times
coolest,
or Telegraph,
one of the
I think.
coolest cities, one parts of a city or neighbourhood. I think it was coolest neighbourhood in the country.
Yeah.
And then obviously that would have brought people here. Then people get here like, oh fuck, do I get around anything?
Yeah, absolutely.
and
Did you have any conversations with the council and stuff? Or lots?
Yeah, well, we did. So at the time, so this August 2021, when we realised just how bad it was here, we were actually one of the first businesses to be vocal about it. I think because it was right on our doorstep. We were on the high street, and we noticed the trade just drop off. And you know, we wrote letters to MPs, Andy Street, everyone really, Ian Ward. It was just very like, I don't know, there was like this, oh yeah, like, well, you know, we had a direct contact with someone in Andy Street's office who had phone calls with me and was like, oh, we'll do X, Y, and Z to help you. And then none of it really actually like materialized. I don't know where that went. And then there was a very generic letter from the council, like when we asked about things like, you know, is there any plans to reduce plastic in Birmingham? Because I think what could have been done with, you know, not like just, you know, save the clean kilo, but I think because the pandemic shadowed the whole plastic pollution so much that there needed to be much more of a push of plastic pollution on the agenda onto the press as well, because a lot of people obviously was talking about it in 2018, 2019, but then it just all stopped. And I feel like if there was more like council awareness campaign and things like that, that would still, obviously, you don't have to label come to the clean kilo, but it would just, you know, put it on people's agenda. And to be honest, you know, we obviously, if you have less waste, there is less bins being collected. That will save council money, so maybe they could just think of it like that. But yeah, so but there just really wasn't anything that came back of like significant help. There was a few councillors, don't get me wrong, that do shop with us that were more helpful than others. But yeah, there was nothing that could be done like dramatically, like, you know, if they were to say, you're a green business, so here's funding for you guys, like that would have been great. That would have sorted out loads of problems. But they were like, you know, there's no money in the pot. This is what it is, kind of thing. And that's when we really had to reevaluate what we were doing here as a zero waste shop in Digbeth. Was it actually going to work? Obviously, with all these bills still coming out and things. So that's when we made a decision that we would actually like try and move, because we wasn't ready just to like give up on, like, this was the flagship store and obviously had all these people crowdfunding, so we didn't want to just give up back then. It just didn't feel right. We wanted to give it another go, and we felt like if we moved to a suburb that was more similar to Bourneville setup where people could walk on foot, then obviously maybe there'll be some kind of improvement in accessibility, which obviously is really key because people do, you know, go for convenience, so that it needs to be accessible. And then obviously we didn't want to give up on this premises, and we were just like looking in the area, like, you know, what most of Digbeth is hospitality. We came out of the pandemic where people were looking for experiences, so obviously, you know, like sitting outside was a big thing, and having coffee and stuff, and we'd already introduced an element of that to the Clean Kilo at that point. So we did have tables and chairs outside, and we tried to do coffee, but because it was never planned for that, it just meant logistically it was really hard for the staff to actually, like, they would go and try and get coffee from one of the rooms over there and then get the cups from here and then use a little grinder from over there, and like logistically they were just like, please Jeanette, can we just not do this coffee thing, because it's like not logistically set up for this. So we started thinking, oh, maybe we could actually do like a zero waste cafe bar, because one of the other things that we were still going to supermarket for was wine. And we're like, there must be like some kind of better option than this. And then this I think it was an email came through one day. So this is going back a little bit, but it was like it's during the lockdown, and it was like a zero waste wine tasting session from these artisan wines that were coming in refillable stainless steel kegs. And we're like, yes, this is what we want. So yeah, we joined up to it, and they were basically aiming at doing this refillable keg and wine dispensing system for zero waste shops. And we thought about introducing it into the shop at the time, but to get an alcohol license to sell like 2 or 3 wines wouldn't have been like viable really, and a lot of work. So I think that's when we
sort of put it on the back
yeah.
burner. Thought that it'd be something to do maybe in the future. But Tim is our local beekeeper. I don't know if you heard of B9.
Yeah.
Up on top of the custard factory.
Yeah, up on the roof there. So we, from day one of Clean Kilo, we've sold his honey, either loose or in jars. So there was like a stainless steel fusty that you could put your jar below and fill it with the honey. Not so great in winter because it always crystallised and you'd open the tap and nothing came out. But yeah, he's also got hives in Worcestershire, and the bees from his hives were pollinating. Was it a disused apple orchard? And these apples were just going on the floor and rotting. So he had conversations with the farmer, and they ended up having a agreement where he could take the apples and he used those apples to make cider and juices. Initially it was just cider, and he came to us with this cider. We didn't have the personal license yet, or the premises license. Yeah, we were well excited to sell it. We used it
was
for
amazing. It was so nice.
It was delicious, and we used it for Halloween, like what was it, like an event?
It was
the
like a
Digbeth Halloween
multi-day.
event.
I don't know if you remember it.
Remember that?
Dig Fest. It was
Dig
like
Fest.
Yeah, I do kind of
October
remember it, yeah.
2021. So that's when we applied for the temporary license. And so there were these like pockets of things coming in that like we thought, oh yeah, we've got like circular wine. We've got a local producer who's making local alcohol, like obviously from these disused apples, obviously like local apples. We've already got things like circular coffee beans from a local roaster. So
Crisps for snacks.
Chris,
On the
yeah. So
table.
It was falling into
it was all kind of
Yeah.
falling into place. We didn't probably have the confidence to do it ourselves, so we were gonna like go in with someone basically, but that never materialized. So we were kind of like, thought, right, do we? Because this was on the. Bear in mind, I don't know if you know about the COVID recovery grant. It was something that was offered to businesses after the pandemic. So I think it was a very like open grant, wasn't it? So like
Yeah, anyone could apply. It was government run. It was government money, like national government, but it was administrated by Birmingham City Council. So
Yeah,
the
I
money was
remember it,
divvied
yeah.
out to different
Yeah.
councils, and then you apply.
Yeah, and one of the things you could do obviously was diversify your business, and a lot of people were doing that at the time because like shops were coming into cafes and things like that. Everything changed. So obviously we put our plan together for this zero waste cafe bar and got the funding through. But then obviously we were like, do we continue with it ourselves? Because we don't have any experience in hospitality. We know our concepts, we know what we want, and we know how to source. Like that's what we've been doing for the Clean Kilo. But do we know how to like run and design and manage a bar? But yeah, I don't know. I think we had a lot of energy, didn't we?
I don't know how. I don't know where it came from.
I
You already
honestly
had
don't know how
13
because I'm
shops.
knackered, honestly. So I think in 2021.
You had to spend it within 3 months
Yeah.
of like being told you'd got it.
It was hectic, really.
Like trying to spend that kind of money in a short period of time.
You think it's like a really nice thing, but actually, when you have to document and explain every receipt, it's actually quite like an admin. It's a role on its own, really.
Yeah.
We basically, found another premises, obviously, for the Clean Kilo, and was obviously doing all the background things that required at the time. Whilst this was all happened very quickly, so we didn't start planning Kilo Zero really till end of December 2021. It's kind of literally start of 2022.
Yeah.
The whole business concept and building it, constructing it happened within months at the same time we moved to Moseley. And I don't even know how that happened.
So how did you find time to do that?
we
Well, you just
honestly
don't,
didn't.
you don't have a break.
At one
That's the
point, I
only
think
way.
I think it was Boxing Day, and it was then a day in like April, and that was like the first half a morning off we had, or something like ridiculous.
So you had Boxing Day off.
We had
and then
Boxing Day off, and then we all just like boom, boom, boom,
didn't
boom,
stop
boom,
again until April.
till April, and it was complete madness because obviously we had to take. Because obviously the lease took a long time to come through in Moseley, and then it had to be a quick announcement on social media. We only gave like a week notice. It was all very quick, and then we pretty much moved everything. Well, no, we couldn't move everything. We had to do some stuff with Bourneville first, the premises, to make it good.
Moseley.
I don't know what I'm saying. Oh yeah, Moseley. To make it good.
Gets confusing.
And then obviously pack up everything here, and then we moved it all and somehow opened within like 3 weeks.
Was there no part where you were thinking, "No, this is just too much hard work. Why don't we just cut our losses with Digbeth and fucking move on to Moseley and Bourneville?"
Yeah.
The idea of that crossed our minds, but it's the idea of moving all of this stuff into storage, because you can't just go, right, let's sell it or
He
whatever.
came to just move to that to Moseley, not do the bar altogether. But I feel like
We'd got the
we had really,
funding come through.
we
and-
obviously didn't need to use the funding, but I feel like we'd had hit on a really good concept, because it's kind of like the excitement we felt when we started the Clean Kilo seafood market. We're like, yeah, this could like, you know, we could like reduce like all this packaging and talk to all these local people, and that's
create
obviously
something really unique as
yeah,
well.
create something really unique, and I guess that's what Kilo Ziro was, because we wanted to again do what we did, but in the hospitality industry. So we wanted to contact loads of local distilleries, local cider makers, craft beer and cider, and then get those in like stainless steel kegs. Obviously we already had a lot of the supplies in terms of snacks and stuff. Already had those, and then obviously we had this amazing like wine that like was really like high quality wine, but obviously in this circular keg that saves 96% of the carbon footprint because of the energy it would take to obviously make the glass, and then the carbon associated with transporting heavy glass and heavy liquid, and then obviously even recycling glass would have a footprint and energy consumption. So it was kind of like, wow, we've never really thought about the hospitality industry, about reducing waste. Same as when we hadn't thought about the grocery industry. It was just this like crazy concept. We're like, yeah, like let's do this, and it just felt right. And we wanted to make that impact that we had with obviously the grocery side of things here. So yeah, we just like kind of carried on. I don't know, it was like a frenzy of work, and yeah, this whole place was there was a lot of work that had to be done, because it was everything from like
Electrics,
the
plumbing.
yeah, because we tried to do everything ourselves basically. Like suddenly my menswear clothing background then became like interior design and commercial bar design, which is something I'm really interested in now, and maybe I could like to pursue in the future actually. And then Tom, from his experience setting up the Clean Kilo shop, so obviously you've probably noticed there's a lot of like upcycled wood, and that's where your carpentry skills started to develop. Like we kind of somehow designed the bar, obviously did all the plumbing stuff, all the electrics that had to be done, obviously getting like the water into this bar area here, like the checkout used to be here, so this was just kind of, those rooms didn't have any water running through it, so there was a
Or was it loads of YouTube videos? Or?
yeah, pretty much.
I mean, electrics we got.
Yeah, obviously.
Professionals
Yeah,
in
yeah.
and stuff. Didn't try messing around with that. No.
Yeah, but in terms of like design, it was very much like Pinterest. I like these images. Calling upon a few friends that like know the industry better, being like, you know, how wide does the bar need to be to make it like usable, and where do things need to be positioned to make it like accessible? And I remember when 100 House came, and I was like, I don't want the grinder next to the coffee machine because I want more bar showing, and they're like, no, you have to have the coffee grinder next to the coffee machine. And I was
Otherwise,
like,
you'd be walking off for
and I was
like
like, no, I
5
just want it, you
minutes
know.
to go and get
I was
a
like, I
coffee
just want
grinder.
it just like behind, like it must be a quick movement, won't it? Just a quick movement behind, and they're like, no, it's got to be next to it. And I was like, all right, then I gave in. But now, like, obviously understand like the usability, and it was a steep learning curve. Even the kind of like the beer lines and the taps. Obviously, we have a lot of like, because we're using the tap system, we're having a lot of kegs like how that works in terms of like the cellar. I'll show you later in the vault.
Oh, yeah,
that
you've
was
got
like,
beer and wine kegs, so you've got
Yeah.
a lot of
Yeah.
kegs going
Two
on.
different systems, two different gases.
yeah,
and
that was a lot of googling, and we needed the wine system. Obviously, we've got this like lovely tap wall here, which is all fancy, and because we wanted people to be able to like self-serve like they do at the Clean Kilo, but obviously now in the wine format. That obviously when you're dispensing cleaning products, if you overspill a little bit, it's also a bit of cleaning product. You can't really like overflow wine and stuff. So we needed something more technical that was going to like do measurements and things like that. And that's where obviously the research into the tap system came into it. I don't even know how, but we managed to design and build the bar kind of in like, was it 3 months in the end? And that was including the whole of the business plan. Like as in, I remember the day after Boxing Day, I applied for the personal license and then it went into premises license. So it was kind of really from scratch, the whole concept. And
there was loads of stuff as well. I had to apply for planning permission to change
Yeah.
use, all that kind of thing. There's so much that
so
went
much you
into
don't
it
think about,
that you don't even see here as well.
Yeah.
Like,
And
it's
then
ridiculous.
the sourcing was obviously like the fun bit. So like we've got a couple of display walls here, which actually works. We actually are a bottle shop as well, so you can buy the spirits. Is the idea, but we don't really promote it. I don't know why, but yeah. So on one side it says supporting local and independent, and like we try to contact local distilleries to see, if they could supply in bulk, like way we did with the crisps, basically, see if we could do circular with any of them. And a lot of them will actually take back the glassware. So you've got like Henstone, which is in Shropshire, Thousand Cherries is Birmingham, we've got Lichfield Fifth By, which is literally Tom's friend in Lichfield, Halfpenny Cider. I don't know if you've come across those guys. You might see them at like the Moseley Farmers Market or the other one, Kings Norton Farmers Market. What's the like Burning Barn? I think they're based in like Solihull or
Yeah,
Solihull.
friends of ours are good at
Yeah.
really good stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So like, and it was great to like obviously get all these independents on board because sometimes like they might not get showcased because they're such like big companies that will kind of like give stock to a bar or something to like obviously so they like utilize just their stock. But we didn't want any of that. We just wanted to pick the brands we wanted to pick. So we contacted them directly, most of them. And then on the other side of the wall here, when obviously you couldn't get some of the spirits locally, we looked at the brands that had a sustainable ethos about them, which is why we came across things like Cooper King, which is a carbon negative gin, Two Drifters, a carbon negative rum, Discarded, you've probably heard of. They're a bigger brand, so they use like discarded banana peels, etc., to make their rum. And then we came across Sustainable Spirit, which they do our house serves basically, and they come in eco pouches. So it's a 5 litre pouch that we save, and then we actually send back, and it gets refilled. And then when we started the conversation with a lot of these kind of distilleries, a lot of them were open to doing a 5 litre jerry can, again, that we can send back and get refilled. So I think I was quite surprising actually, like that we didn't know the drinks industry like kind of already had pockets of like a circular system. So that was really good to find out. So when we found out, a lot of these spirits could be actually circular. Obviously that was really good. Local craft beer and cider was easy in the West Midlands. And like pretty much everything we already had. The menu that develops the most was the cocktail menu. The very first cocktail menu was basically classics, and it was like, for instance, espresso martini. It's a double shot of the obviously locally roasted coffee, the 100 House, and then we wanted to use things that obviously had a more sustainable ethos. So we used a fair trade coffee liqueur. We made our own homemade sugar syrup, and obviously even the vodka in it was circular basically, so it didn't have single use packaging attached to it. And so basically each of these classics, like we explain like what that kind of the eco side of it was. But then for the next menu, it just started really with Tom's mum.
She gave us an article that she'd found in the Times, maybe, I think the newspaper she was reading at the time, and it showed us that vegetables and fruit were like the new thing, the sort of trending thing to put in cocktails and make cocktails out of from scratch. So
that was exciting for me because
Jeanette's obsessed with race.
Obsessed.
I think you can probably tell that by now.
So basically what we normally do as a couple is we take all these like overripe fruit and veg from the clean kilo, and we just have a lot of boiled vegetables. And Tom hates it basically.
Old broccoli.
Old broccoli, all
The
the
customers won't buy. It's like, right, that's ours. That's dinner.
yeah. We don't ever
Lucky
take
you.
the new stock. Basically, we always take things that are off or old or something. And I was like, I've got loads of fruit and veg. This is great that it's trending. So let's take the overripe surplus fruit and veg from the clean kilo and mix it into our cocktail drinks. And obviously, we're lucky to have a great team that obviously have creativity and experience in obviously cocktail making, obviously, because our experience isn't in that. So when we were doing our recruitment, we obviously wanted to make sure that any areas that we were lacking in, we would have someone that obviously was a cocktail mixologist, etc., things like that. So when we would give the brief basically like, guys, like broccoli's on the menu. Carrots. Also, yeah, I think the broccoli was the one that got left at the end, and then
Whoever
the
pulled the
newest,
short straw.
no, it was the newest girl that joined, had to make the broccoli, which was the brocktail. So she got the short straw, but she made a great drink, and even Birmingham Cocktail Week, and they talked about the brocktail.
There was always like a warning next to that one on the menu, like only pick this if you're adventurers, you know.
And like broccoli.
Really like broccoli.
Tom don't like broccoli. So
I
you never
picked it.
recommended it to anyone. I was like,
No.
I always do. He's like, can you start recommending it to people? I was like, well, it's a good drink. Like, yeah, we got really creative with the menu because we obviously were using these vegetables and like, so there was like infusions or fat washing, like different techniques that basically would prolong the life, and obviously by adding the alcohol in.
Roasting carrots in honey
Yeah.
and then blending it and mixing
Yeah.
it.
So definitely a lot of like time and thought goes into the cocktail menu particularly, and the menu after that was the waste not menu, and that came from I think it was coming towards Halloween, and Halloween was always like should we stock pumpkins at the clean kilo, because like especially with all these kids in Bourneville, they'll love the pumpkins, but then there's always that side of what happens to all the pumpkin flesh. And it kind of was always like a bugbear of mine where I didn't want to sell the pumpkins because I didn't think the flesh was going to go to a good place.
The bin.
It was just going to go to the bin. So, yeah, we never have sold carving pumpkins at the shops before. So for this cocktail menu, I thought, right, well, there's loads of people that buy pumpkins. They don't even carve it sometimes. Maybe we should collaborate with other businesses and say, you know, we give you X amount of like cocktail vouchers or whatever, or some promos adding your name to our menu if you can donate some pumpkins to us for our Waste Not Pumpkin cocktail. And yeah, so it was great. Obviously, we had the Crown who donates loads of pumpkins as well, and obviously like a few businesses around here. And that's where that menu started. So we started like talking to other businesses about collabs of what waste that they have. So there was like Billy from Organic Farm. We've used him like seasonally for fruit and veg. He's at the Moseley Farmers Market as well. And he had these like overripe damsons. So obviously no one's going to buy it as they are. So we bought them from him and obviously made our damson cocktail. And then I think for like the next menu, we would like to like see what other waste is out there to see how we can incorporate that into drinks. And yeah,
Jeanette's been asking for a potato cocktail for quite a while
yeah.
now. But they all look at us pretty strangely when we
That's
say
the
it.
thing, like
Put it in, surely.
Yeah.
yeah, I think
Irish whiskey, you used to make it out of potatoes.
sometimes get a bit of pushback, like, oh, this will never work, and you're like, well, why not?
Well, if you made a broccoli cocktail taste, all right,
can
you
do
might-
anything,
you've definitely
can't
got to
you?
be.
Yeah.
There must be anything you can make taste good.
How does it work? Do you have to push back a lot, Tom? Or do you have an instinct? You must have an instinct now just to say, this
It's-
one's not too bad, I'll let this one go. Or do you
It's not
do, like,
just me.
everyone in
It's,
free.
it's the rest of the team as well. They're just-
Yeah.
It seems like this is too much. I'm
Here we
like,
go again.
Well, I want to do a beer cocktail, strawberry
Fantastic,
beer
then.
cocktail. Basically, yeah, as you've probably talked to many bars and pubs before, the first pull that comes out of the line gets wasted, and that I can't handle it basically, and I need to think of some way to make that into some kind of cocktail and preserve its life a little bit.
Having wine on draft as well means that you've got it with wine as well. So, but we already use the wine for
do the-
wine-based cocktails.
Yeah, so we got a cocktail called Stop Whining About Waste, and those are wine-based cocktails from the first pull on the line. but just like no one's on board with doing this beer one.
Beer
I don't know why. But yeah, if I have time, that's the thing. Obviously, I want to just develop it, but it's kind of trying to run the businesses at the same time. There's a lot of elements, so it's kind of like, oh, I can't do everything.
So when you opened this, you decided you were going to be based here all the time?
No, that just happened. That we live closer to here, to be fair,
Yeah.
so that kind of made sense. And we already had the office here.
I think with it being a new business, it
just
requires
needed
a lot
our
more
time.
input anyway.
How did you let go of the other 2 stores then?
I think it was already kind of in a good process. Those processes are already there.
I mean, we've got Voita, who's a great supervisor manager. He's the sort of general manager now of the 2 shops, and he's great.
I think we're like, well, how many years are we in now? 5 years into the Clean Kilo, right?
At least, and Voita'd been with us for 4 years. So
And I guess the system's already set up, and so long as you got someone good in place to manage the rest of the team, it will just run. Whereas I feel like the reason we had to work on the bar more was because we were still finding our feet a lot, obviously doing all this menu development and sourcing, and then changing the model a little bit, like I mentioned, when we realised, because I think the first few months we didn't have any private hire, and we found it a little bit tough, even though it was summer. And then we're like, right, well, maybe we need to like rethink that and just think of this as a space where we can provide, obviously, all these local spirits, zero waste cocktail, local craft beers. But obviously, when you do private hire, people are going to come because it's someone's birthday that they've been invited to and things like that. And, you know, we don't want to do it long term, don't get me wrong, because we don't want to annoy the regulars that just want to come here and have a drink and then we're like, oh, we're closed. But it's that balance where if we don't do it, then we may not have great customers that night in terms of footfall, and then obviously then it puts us in difficulty. But obviously if we do it too often, we don't want to like depend on it. So it's trying to find a balance at the moment. We're trying to like avoid it on like Saturdays, for instance, where people will just be walking past. Yeah, the whole thing is just like quite a steep learning curve, and it's been an exciting process, but it's been a lot of hard work. Blood, sweat and tears, definitely.
Absolutely.
How quick did you fall in love with hospitality?
I don't know if I'm in love, I'm not going to lie.
You talk like someone who's in love with hospitality. You got like that passion. And...
I have passion, definitely. I'm not going to lie, I haven't not found it hard. Coming into a new industry the way we did.
Quite similar to retail, though. It's all people, isn't it, really?
Customer service wasn't the issue. I guess it was kind of the menu creations and the constant, I guess with the Clean Killer, because we'd already sourced everything, we occasionally add new things. Whereas I find in hospitality, things change a lot. Menus change. Obviously, we're doing the booking thing. So each booking is a new thing that I have to work on. And we've taken some big bookings where we've even hired next door, and there was like 100 people and they wanted corporate catering from, you know, it was like very much like, yeah, we want coffee at 9 and then we want like snacks at 9:30, and then there was like this whole day. So suddenly I've become an events planner, and I hadn't planned for that, I guess. When you're short staffed, because we're trying to obviously manage the budget a little bit where we don't want to overstaff it, because we somehow get these like days where some Friday nights could be really quiet here, and then obviously if we lose business like long term and lose money long term, it's not going to be viable. So then I feel like we're around a lot in terms of like being on the floor as well. So to do that and own and run the business in terms of the admin side of one business, but then also run the other business, and we do our own social media as well. So I basically, up until probably a few months ago, I've always done every single post you've seen. Like it would have been me that wrote it. Now I've got an apprentice that's helping me, but obviously that's still a lot of guidance from me, even managing someone to do that role. So anything graphic based is all us. I think it's just because of the size of the team, really, as small business nature. You're literally doing everything, and because I think we're doing two sides of the business. During what is a cost of living crisis, so you've got to try extra hard, and especially with the roadworks as well. It's
I think one of the things, I think Jeanette's saying it as well, is that with a shop, if you like a particular food shop, you're going to go there either every week regularly or every couple of weeks or every month. But with a bar, there's so many other bars that someone could go, right, let's go to city centre this time. Let's go to Digbeth. Let's go to Broad Street. So
And it's a
this,
treat
it
for people.
fluctuates so much. So that's why you can't plan so much for staff. So like you were saying, one Friday it could be really dead, and the next Friday you go, right, well, let's put less stuff on. And then all of a sudden it's really busy, and you're thinking like, how can you can't predict that. I think that's one of the
laws of hospitality. That is,
yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas with retail, I think you can you've got a good idea. It's pretty much stays the same.
Yeah.
For longer periods, maybe it changes, but
Yeah, and people, I guess you say, like, they come back often because they need a food item, whereas these days it's like people going out and this might be their one outing that month because of the cost of living crisis. And yeah, so it's definitely tough out there. Like, things that I've enjoyed, like I definitely enjoy the customer interaction and like talking to people, because I feel like we never
she's obviously good at talking, as we can tell.
Yeah, there were some customers came in and I was like, have you heard of the Clean Kilo? And they're like, no. I was like, and then like Tom rolled his eyes and thought, oh God, she's going to talk about the Clean
it's
Kilo.
important. You got to share your story. People don't
Yeah.
buy products or services. They buy stories. don't they?
Yeah.
But after 15 minutes, this lady was like, I didn't know there was so much to know about a bar.
I was like, I could tell you more.
Can I get that coffee?
Yeah.
No, that's definitely like, and obviously the creativity in what we're doing is exciting. But yeah, I would like more normality. Like, I don't think as the Clean Kilo, well, certain periods of the time of Clean Kilo, we didn't always work 7 days a week. Whereas I feel like we always work 7 days a week and later hours than before. Because obviously the shop would close at 5:30, but now we're like, oh, just like before we go, like let's make sure they're all right before we go. And it's like, oh, it's 9:30, 10 o'clock. Oh, like,
I think
and
the only thing that makes us
Unbelievable.
stop working is the fact that the Zelig building closes at 9:30 and you have to leave, whereas it used to open till what, 10, 10:30, 11.
yeah.
It was ridiculous that we'd stay that late because it was open that late.
I
And
remember
now you get kicked out, you've got to go.
I remember once actually someone did, when we were the Clean Kilo, someone wrote on a Facebook message to us, a customer, I was really disappointed that your lights were open at 1 a.m. I thought you were an eco place and you would, be mindful to switch off your lights. And we're like, well, the reason lights are on is because we're still working. It's like 1 o'clock. So yeah, I just don't think people really understand what it is sometimes to be a small business owner. I'm enjoying it, but obviously it comes with a lot of it, giving it all, basically.
So there's a restaurant next.
Gosh, we have been dabbling into food.
Don't get us started.
If we had the space,
Come on, restaurant, please.
if we had the space, like, yeah, zero waste restaurant for sure. But yeah, we're just gonna do collabs for now.
Cool. There are good collabs in at the minute in Birmingham.
Yeah.
Do you have any like tips or advice you could give to hospitality businesses who want to become a bit more sustainable?
Yeah, I think there's already so much out there that like, and it's just about changing that habit and, looking like, there might be a wholesaler or something that has multiple products, but sometimes if you go direct to the distillery, they might be able to do something different in terms of the circular aspect as well. And to be honest, there's an advantage in terms of pricing as well, in terms of buying bulk, and with less like glass packaging. I don't know how much these glass bottles are, but I can imagine they're pretty expensive. So that's actually the good thing as well. Like, you will save some money, and so that could be an incentive to do that. And yeah, just really consider, like, obviously, like, any revenue of waste that's happening in your premises could be reduced or utilized in some way. Yeah.
It's having the energy though, like, and the time. But yeah,
Yeah.
it needs to change. It's just not enough now to say, oh well, that's make an excuse. Let's make an excuse and move on. It's not acceptable anymore.
I think like it's inevitable. There's going to be more push on plastic, obviously, since the last few years there was obviously the plastic straw. This year is going to be plastic plates and cutlery in terms of the ban. So you might as well start now to kind of future-proof your business to make sure you're in line with everything. Because the change is going to happen. It might be slower than anticipated, but like it will happen. And I think like even if environmental isn't like the number one concern, I think there is obviously financial benefits, and obviously there's the necessity of it as well. And once you get used to it, you don't notice it as much. Like I don't know, maybe we just do things really long, but I honestly don't really notice
But like some
the
of
extra
it's
process.
not new, like the circular stuff. I remember when I first started working in bars. I remember having to keep the mixer bottles, the Britvic mixer bottles.
Yeah.
And you go out the back, and there was pallets, like crates upon
Stacked
crates
up.
of them, waiting for somebody to come and collect them.
Or Nuki Brown always.
Yeah,
used to go
Nuki
there.
Brown as well. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
when I like first started. That was a good few years ago now.
Yeah. I don't know if they still take those back, the Nuki Brown
No,
bottles.
it's everything's honestly everything's in them big blue bins that they
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
under the bar, and you just whack everything in there.
The noisy
glass,
bins.
plastic,
Yeah.
metal, everything goes in there. I mean, it might, in fairness, you know what? I'm saying this, but it's been 10 years since I've worked in hospitality, so it may have changed. But like I worked at Witherspoons and M&B, and I doubt it's changed that much. You know.
Not there.
Yeah, I
Not
think
in the
the
chains,
big
maybe.
chains definitely going to take a while, but I think small businesses, a lot of them are already probably doing things now.
Hopefully,
so-
independents are a bit more open to it. You know.
Yeah, definitely. Like we've spoken to quite a few bar people, and they're like, yeah, we've got this and that, and you know, it exists now, so it's not as hard to do it as it used to be.
Was there anything else you wanted to bring up? Forever hold your peace.
There is something I want to bring up. Basically, we mentioned, obviously, at the start we were supposed to be collabing with something. So what we're looking for right now is actually someone to work with as an operator that understands the industry and has that expertise.
So, like somebody who's in to come and work for you to organise these events, like
Not work
with.
for us. I mean, more like
with
like you know,
someone who's
big
got a bit
part.
of experience in it.
Yeah, be a big part in the business. And, you know, we're starting to talk to a few people, but obviously, like, we want someone to come from experience, the experience that we're lacking. Obviously, we've got the ethos and everything behind us, but someone to obviously that needs to share the ethos of wanting to do this, that might just know industry better, and it could be like a bigger part of the business. I don't mean just work for us. I mean like a proper like joint venture kind of thing. But yeah, no. But other than that, I think we've covered the whole journey, right?
Pretty much.
That was brilliant. Absolutely loved it. I don't know if you listen, but just a nice way to finish the podcast. Carl just has a few just general
few
fun
happy
questions.
What's your favourite TV show?
Yeah,
We
nothing
do
related.
watch
do watch TV.
Tom forces us
Yeah.
to
Like
relax.
it'll be like 15 minutes before bed just to kind of take our minds off stuff. So it'll take us 4 nights to watch an episode, for example.
Yeah,
Oh well, for me it would probably have to be Sopranos or something like that.
yeah,
but,
that's a good one.
But as a couple, I don't know.
Honestly, I've got mind blank. I can think about work and years of history and back to 2018 and whatever. But I
TV's
can't think
unimportant.
about
It only
TV.
takes up a tiny bit of.
Yeah, I
brain.
don't know.
Or what's your favourite movie?
Also difficult. Zero Dark 30. That's quite a good one.
Yeah,
I quite like the army ones and stuff.
Yeah, we have genres that we like to go to. We like true story.
True story type ones.
Is
yeah.
it because we find them educational?
I guess so.
That's for me anyway. I feel like I'm learning something.
What's your favourite band or artist? Because you must listen to music while you work as well, I'd presume.
Like,
You
I
have
like
favourite
I like
bands,
older
and-
stuff like Led Zeppelin. I guess would be
that's a good
probably up
answer.
there.
Yeah, it's a great answer.
Yeah.
I just have weird stuff. I think I only remember music from the 90s.
Like Britney Spears or yeah.
And that's all I can
Christina
remember.
Aguilera.
I
that's
think
what she-
once I hit like work mode, I feel like. But I generally, as a genre, I like folk music. I go for that.
Nice. What's your favourite big fast food chain?
Now I really don't have one of those.
You don't like? Jeanette doesn't like fast food.
That'd be so on.
If you were like, yeah,
If you were like, yeah,
McDonald's.
McDonald's, that was so not right for the brand. Just ruin their brand.
Just like, even if it wasn't the ethos, I think like the actual quality is just really poor and for what you get for your money.
I think we enjoy
Isn't it?
going to like the independents.
Yeah.
You know, and it doesn't not going to be fast, but
Yeah.
I think that's what we're like. You say, that's not what we're about.
I think the nearest thing to like a burger currently we would say we'd like is somewhere like Handbell, right?
Yeah,
Like,
they
you know.
do a really good
Yeah,
burger and
that's
loaded
good.
fries.
So yeah, like I think even before we had our own shops and stuff, like we were really big on like going to independents, like loving like the IB card and stuff. This was before we had our own businesses. So yeah, so that's kind of what we stick to.
Nice. Do you have a favourite dish that you cook at home?
I do for
Old
Tom.
broccoli.
Tom hates my broccoli, but
Overboiled broccoli.
The carbonara.
Yeah, I make quite a good carbonara.
What's your favourite food destination in the world other than Birmingham?
You
Takes a
mean
bit
like
of
just
beating.
general cuisine type?
If you go just going to a city to eat,
Oh,
what's the best one you could pick other than Birmingham?
Australia must have been pretty good.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, it was pretty good. I don't know though.
So Birmingham's better than Australia?
No, well, yeah, I think there's a lot more kind of small independents here that are like cool and unique, and yeah.
I would say Hong Kong. That's something I probably do know. There is like
I've not been yet.
some crazy hectic like eateries in Hong Kong. It's open at all hours. You just walk down, and it's like 11 o'clock at night, and it's just booming, and yeah.
That sounds
So-
perfect.
Kind of, you just walk in and say, whatever they're having, just give me that.
Yeah. It's always crazy and bustling in Hong Kong. But I've not been for a long time, but obviously I was born there, but I never grew up there. So yeah, I've been back to visit. But,
Good answer though.
yeah. It is.
But yeah,
Thank you very much.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Ruth, thank you.
yeah, it's been brilliant. I could still chat for ages, but another time. Thank you very much.
No, we did tell you it's going to be a long podcast.